Hello all, welcome to the next video of computer system and organization. In the last video we learned about the different types of memory available, cache memory, need of these different types of memory, etc. In this video we'll be learning about softwares, different softwares. So we know what a software is. Software is a part of computer, it can be considered as a set of instructions that are given to the computers for making the hardware work. So there are different types of softwares, and broadly it is divided as system softwares and application softwares. System softwares, programming tools, and application software. We'll see one by one. System software are the softwares which help the system to work. We know that the computers are merely hardwares, and to make these hardwares, the user doesn't know the language of hardware. So what do they do? They take the help of the system softwares which actually interact with the hardware and make the hardware do some work. So the user will be interacting with the software as well, and the system software will be acting with the or interacting with the hardware. So the basic functionality is to operate a computer by interacting directly with the constituent hardware. So again, it can be again classified, and one of the best examples for system software is operating system. So an operating system is a program that acts as an interface between the user as well as the hardware. And the operating system controls all the components of the hardware and makes it easier for the user to use the hardware resources of the computer. So that means that the operating system is a software which interacts with the hardware, and of course the user will be interacting with the operating system. We are all using the computers, we all use computers, and we all use directly log into the operating system. Actually, what the interface is seen is by the operating system. So there are so many type of operating systems available. The most common is Windows, Linux, Macintosh, Ubuntu, etc., Unix, etc. And another example of the system softwares are system utilities. Actually, this softwares which are used for the maintenance and the configuration of the computers is known as the system utilities. For example, you can say disk fragmentation and formatting softwares and system restoring facility softwares. All these things comes under the system utilities, and some of them comes along with the operating system. These type of the softwares that I mentioned now actually comes along with this operating systems, and some has to be installed later. That is antivirus softwares, disk cleaner softwares, compression softwares, etc. All these things are also utilities which need to be installed by the user later, other than the operating system. Some comes along with the operating system. And another type of utilities you can see compression tools, backup utilities, and editor softwares, that is text editor softwares. Microsoft Word is one of the text editor softwares, and you have the compression tools, etc. And coming to device drivers, see, when you install a device which is other than the fundamental parts, that is even monitor and keyboard, uh, see, any device which is added to the CPU has to be uh, registered with the CPU. Registered in the sense that some software should be there in the CPU to handle the hardware that is being included. That those type of softwares are known as device drivers. For example, when I directly connect a printer to the system, it will not work. Why? Because there should be a software inside the CPU which handles the printer. So that software that we put in for that printer is the device driver. We call it as a device driver for that corresponding printer has to be there in our system for that printer to work properly, and for the printer to be connected to the CPU also, connected to the system also. So those type of softwares are known as device drivers. So it controls all the operations of a particular device at a hardware level and acts as an interface between the device and the operating system. Now coming to the programming tools. See, the computers are at a hardware level, or it's a complete hardware. It understands only ones and zeros. What do you mean by this ones and zeros? See, ones and zeros is the presence and absence of a voltage or signals. That is, if some voltage is present in the connections, it is considered as 1, and if no voltage is there, it is considered as 0. So that's the binary language of ones and zeros. Of course, if the system has to do something, it has to be given in the language of ones and zeros. That language is also known as machine language. It's also known as machine language, and machine language consists of ones and zeros. So if the machine has to understand anything, it should be given in ones and zeros. Of course, the user is not aware of writing this in ones and zeros. So there should be somebody to translate the language that the user know to the system. Okay, for that we use the programming tools. See, if I know a language and somebody else don't know language, there should be an intermediate persons who translate my language to that person. So such in the similar way, there are some programming tools, there are some softwares which are known as programming tools, which converts that language that I am telling to the ones and zeros. So you have different types of programming tools. One is assembly. Another language is assembly language. Again, it is related to the computers only. It's more, it is a little bit in a higher version than the machine language. There are short forms of some instructions. They are also known as mnemonic codes. We use add for addition, sub for subtraction. It's also known as assembly language. It is somewhat understandable by the user, but again, this language has to be converted to ones and zeros such that the hardware should understand. So, but it is a little more easier than the machine language to write. High level language is more English like language. The languages that we use nowadays are higher level languages. For example, C, Python, Fortran, all the other languages, Java, all are high level languages. It is more English like, and whatever high level languages that we are writing is being converted to the machine, first to the assembly language and then to the machine language for the computer to execute. So programming tools, again some terminologies related to programming tools, that is source code and object code. See, source code is the code or the program written by the user in any language. That's known as the source code. And if I'm writing a program in Python, that code is known as the source code. And what is object code? See, object code is the translated version of the source code, which is understandable by the machine. So object program is the code translated such that the computer can understand and execute. So it's known as object code. And the language translator or the processor is known as the software which translates the source code to the object code, and that can be run on a microprocessor. So you have assembler. I told you assembler is a language translator which converts assembly language to the machine language. And you have the interpreter. See, interpreter also does the same translation job, but it translates the source code line by line. So you take one line, translate it and execute it. Again, it go and take this second line, go and execute it. Translate it, of course, it translates it and then goes and execute it. Then coming to the compiler, compiler is again a translator which converts a high level language to the machine level in one go. That means it converts all the lines to the machine language and then go for an execution. So that's a compiler. In examination point of view, they may ask this question. Always they ask for the difference between compilers and interpreters. Both does the same job, but interpreter translates in line by line and execute line by line. But in the case of compiler, it translates in one go and then again make an object program and then run subject program from the starting. Now coming to the application software, I told you that softwares were different types, that the system software as well as application softwares. So we have the application software that can be again, it is a set of programs. It is necessary to carry out different operations. It's not for the system operations. It's just for the some particular operations that the user need. For example, I want to play the music. I have the Windows Media Player or have the VLC player. So all these are softwares which are used for some particular purposes. Or I want to paint something. So what is that? So I have the MS Paint. Or if I want to see the film, I have again the VLC. So these are application programs. It can be classified into two. It is general purpose software. This software is used by many users for a wide range of applications. For example, the office operations, DBMS, spreadsheets, graphics, multimedia applications, etc. And again, customized softwares are there which are developed for a particular firm. For example, they need the software which is usable by that hospital only. So that is another application software which is customized one, that is customized for that particular hospital. Maybe for any other bank you are creating a software, that is also an application software which is exclusively created for them. So that's about applications softwares. So thank you.